We did this last Friday. How does Duke lose? That's a fun game to play. The reason why it's fun is because it's not an easy answer, right? It's one that takes thought. Most, if not all, of the other college basketball teams, right? Well, if the opposing team does X, then Duke loses. It's not that easy. It's not that easy, and that's a credit to them. It's a credit to their versatility that we've been talking about so much. It's a credit to their willingness to change. That if you slow the pace down, they can play that. If they speed it up, they can play that. If you want to go down low, they have big guys. You want to go out to the perimeter, they have shooters. You want to do this, you want to do that. They got a little bit of everything. And that's why they are the favorite to win the national championship of the 4 remaining teams. And that's why they have the newly minted Associated Press National Player of the Year in Cooper Flagg. It's not exactly surprising news, but it was made official. He is the Player of the Year according to the AP, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why he earned that award. Let's hear from the guy who has to coach against him. Kelvin Sampson, the head coach of Houston, gives praise to Cooper Flagg.
And he's a 6'9" basketball player. He's not a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's a 6'9" and can play basketball. He can pass, he can score, he can shoot. He's the right kind of best player. You want your best player to be a guy that the other kids need to be in terms of effort and attitude. And I'm a big fan of his. I got to figure out how we can beat his team, but I'm a big fan of his.
Big fan. First of all, everything he just described about Cooper Flagg, I think, is, in a weird way, he's embodied the team. That's how you describe Duke. Oh, he's a big player that can do a little bit of everything. Well, guess what Duke is? A gigantic team that can do a little bit of everything. Oh, he's setting up his teammates. What's Duke about? The unselfishness, right? The team takes on the image of your coach and best player. If it takes on Jon Scheyer and Cooper Flagg, you end up with this result. So instead of listing the billion ways that Duke could win, right? If Tyrese Proctor gets hot from 3, if Con Knippel scores 20+, if Cooper Flagg it has 30, if Kaman Malawash catches 5 out, like if we just keep going on and on, there's a lot of ways they can win. How do they lose? And then we pay attention for that, right? It's by default. As long as this isn't happening, things are going all right. Well, let's start with what Houston brings to the table that Duke doesn't. Experience. And reps alongside each other. Duke and Houston played in the NCAA Tournament last year. They played in the Sweet 16. Now they're matching up in the Final Four, and it's almost like no one is mentioning it. Do you know why? Because it's completely irrelevant because Duke is such a new team. You don't even go back and watch that film unless you're really interested in Tyrese Proctor if you're Houston. But for Houston, Jawan Roberts, Emmanuel Sharp, L.J. Cryer, Myleik Wilson, these are all main characters from that game that are going to be main characters in this game. So there is an experience advantage for Houston. Now, that's not how they win, but it could be the source of how they win. What else does Houston bring to the table that Duke maybe doesn't? They've played a lot of close games recently. Already in the tournament, they've beaten Purdue by 2, and they played essentially a one-possession game down to the wire against Gonzaga in the round of 32. Duke really hasn't had a game that raised their pulse in the NCAA tournament. Arizona ended up being a 6-point game, but all they had to do was make free throws, and they had really good free throw shooters going to the free throw line, and that's a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, that's as close as it came, was that game.
You could go back to the UNC game in the ACC tournament, but I actually think because it's UNC, you put that in a box and it doesn't really relate to everything else. If you take out UNC, it's been a long time since Duke had their pulse raised.
Probably since they lost to Clemson.
Meanwhile, Houston, yeah, I mean, not a joke, but it's kind of funny when you say it out loud.
Yeah.
Houston, on the other hand, they got like 7 energy drinks and a little extra caffeine, and they're always raised. So they a little comfort in close games maybe if they can get there, right? If you can get to the final moments or you can get to the last 7 minutes and it's a one-possession game, Houston's probably thinking they're a little more comfortable. So here's my slingshot. First of all, I got to stop using that because Houston's not David versus Goliath. Houston is, if you look at the Ken Pom, like the 7th best team in the last 10 years.
They're a 1 seed.
Yeah,
let's keep that in mind.
I understand they're like a 5-point dog on the books, but they're not a David versus Goliath here. So I shouldn't use slingshot as an analogy. I'll use like method. This would be my method to try to upset Duke if I were Houston. Pressure. Right? If I let's be real, right? I talked about it yesterday. The average height of the core for Houston, little over 6'4". The average height for the core for Duke, almost 6'7.5". So what should you have? You should have a little bit quicker feet, right? You should have a little bit of low man wins. If there is a ball handler on the court, I am up in their grill if I'm Houston. Right? What's the answer if you force the ball out of Tyrese Proctor and Sion James' hands? They give it to Con Knipple and Cooper Flagg, two very capable ball handlers, but they're also bigger dudes. I am pressuring. I am forcing the refs to call hand checks. I am all the way up in their business. I am making it chaotic. I am trying to rattle Duke. Now you may say, well, Duke hasn't been rattled yet. That's true. They've stayed very, very calm, but they also haven't faced a defense as good as Houston. Do you know how I know that? Houston's the number 1 defense in the entire country. Duke's all the way down there at 4th. Houston's the number 1 defense in the entire country. Duke hasn't faced a defense like this. They might be able to handle it with flying colors. And you might even say it's likely, but I'm going to find out if I'm Houston. Right? And this is self-scout for Duke. Now that Duke knows, hey, this is what Houston's going to be doing, that's the most logical way to go, you have to be ready for it. If I'm Houston, I'm trying to make this, like I'm screaming, right? I'm trying to make this a haunted house for Duke. And Duke has to try to anticipate that, right? You walk around a corner in a haunted house, what are you doing? You're not walking up there and guard down, just boop. You're assuming you walk around a corner, there's going to be a guy with a chainsaw, right? You're assuming there's going to be something swinging from the ceiling. Duke has to anticipate it to be ready. So press break, and at times their kind of pressure break has been just get it to Cooper Flagg and let him dribble, which he's AP National Player of the Year. It's not a bad strategy, but be ready for a smaller, quicker guy to be able to keep their feet in front of him.
Houston, like you said, probably is going to press, but Arizona did that for basically 16 minutes in the second half against Duke just a couple of games ago. They should be ready for it.
Houston's better.
They are.
Houston's just a better defense.
I mean, Arizona's no slouch either, but again, how you prepare and handle it. And there were some times in some moments that Duke, once they got across they actually got across half court, things kind of stalled out a little bit. How do they run their offensive sets after they get across the midline? Because there are times against Arizona when they're really got into their offensive sets, it was like 15-16 on the clock as opposed to 22-23. And that really, I think, sputtered their offense a bit in the second half. That's something they need to be prepared for as well.
Kelvin Sampson, the head coach of Houston, talked about facing a younger team in Duke and how they've matured.
Those guys stopped being freshmen somewhere around Thanksgiving. By Christmas, hell, they might have been sophomores. Now they're just pros. So, but they have a good team. John and his staff's done an excellent job developing this team.
He's done a good job developing this team. I agree. And also, I wonder if it was it sounded like he was just grasping, like, oh, they stopped being freshmen around Thanksgiving. I wonder if that was just him grabbing it out of thin air or if that was absolutely intentional. Because Thanksgiving this past year was November 28th, and the Duke lost to Kansas, which was the end of the game kind of turnovers from the freshmen, November 26th. So from Thanksgiving on, they've lost one game. From Thanksgiving on, when the goings got tough, those freshmen have been able to handle it. If you look pre-Thanksgiving, they had the loss to Kentucky, a couple of turnovers in the final minute by Cooper Flagg. They had the loss to Kansas, turnover by Cooper Flagg, turnover by Con Knipple in the final minute. Since then, they haven't had those moments. If I'm Houston, I'm trying to find those moments as much as I possibly can. They may be prodigious freshmen, but they're still freshmen. They may not seem like freshmen, but technically they are still freshmen.